Hey everybody, Jason Klum here with the Comedy on Vinyl podcast. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for your patience. I know we missed a week. Tonight's episode is going to be a lot of fun. I sat down with Hal Sparks and we talked about all of his different comedy influences. Originally, we sort of picked Wild and Crazy Guy to go over, which, let alone the fact that we just covered it with Dave Hill not that long ago, was just, it didn't really cover enough. So we talked about all his vinyl influences, and he tells an awesome story about how he first got introduced to vinyl, and that's what the show's all about. So it's a lot of fun, and we get into a lot of stand-up comedy theory, more really than most people do. Hal has got this passion for stand-up that I think is incredibly awesome and is, I won't say unusual, but I don't hear it that often on the show. Go to halsparks.com, check out all of his stuff, follow him at Hal Sparks on Twitter, etc., etc., etc. One other thing is that I'm producing a show for the next, it came out last week here in Los Angeles, Jason Robert Brown's The Last 5 Years. It's a wonderful musical. I'm producing it with Carly Worden and stars our very own producer Michael Worden as the lead character, Jamie. Also stars the wonderfully talented Laura Zimmerman. It's a great show. It's a lot of fun. Limited run. It was last week, but it's also this week, July 25th through the 27th. That's Friday through Sunday at the Attic Theater. It's also the Chroma Loom Theater, 5429 West Washington, Los Angeles, California, 90016. So it's just check it out. It's a wonderful show. It's a lot of fun. I'm not just saying it. I wouldn't be involved with something that I didn't enjoy, and it's made me cry each time I've seen it. It's just a really, really wonderful show. It's brilliantly written anyway, but Mike does a great job, and so does Laura. So come see that show if you would. Go to Facebook, look up The Last 5 Years. It's an upcoming event on the 25th through the 27th. So that's enough about me. Enjoy the episode. Go see The Last 5 Years. Okay, that wasn't quite enough, but there you go. Now I'm done. And follow Hal Sparks on Twitter and enjoy him on this episode of Comedy on Vinyl. And if you're ready...
Oh, I'm ready.
All right, let's do this.
I'm more than ready.
Everybody, thank you for joining us this week. Hal Sparks is with me.
Yeah.
Thank you for being here.
Absolutely.
At this place where we are. I won't say where we are, because that'd be... But you're drinking a nice hemisphere of tea.
It's true.
Are you relaxed? As long as you're relaxed.
Bye. Thanks. Cheers. Nice meeting you. I'm always relaxed, like a coiled snake,
Sure.
Tense, but ready.
Right.
Yeah.
By the way, that would have been me at like 17 or 18.
Yeah? Mm-hmm. That voice tone you mean?
Exactly.
Or?
No,
Yeah, right.
Me and the braces, and I dressed exactly like that at 17.
Oh, you were a lovely little girl.
I was confused.
Right.
I was very confused. But now initially you said, because I pressured you said Wild and Crazy Guy.
Right.
Okay. Which I think if people have been listening to the show regularly will find it not atypical that a comedian who's also a musician picked it. But you had some other stuff in mind too.
Yeah, it's one of those things where there's like a pentablet, a 5-part, 5 albums that were really pivotal for different reasons. Mm-hmm. Black Ben the Blacksmith and Hank's Place, which are 2 Richard Pryor albums from the late 60s, early 70s, are his most caricatured work. Like, he does more characters and voices. Black Ben the Blacksmith is arguably a 7-minute play he puts on stage. Hank's Place is very similar. It was when he was still competing with Bill Cosby in his own mind, right. But he had opened up to being a little more Red Fox in what he was doing, sure. And he wasn't shying away from the language or the content. And instead of trying to make up some fake life about his dad, and trying to make it more Cosby-esque, he started telling real stories about his upbringing and the fact that he would hang out in this place where people played craps and always ate fish sandwiches, and that was, both those albums I think had Mudbone on them.
Okay, yeah. And
I used to do Mudbone from my mother. Talk down, do everything that I could at 9-10 years old, telling Mudbone stories. It was good. It was a good time. My mama was a good woman. She liked to listen to things that were lovely. So I would tell her Mudbone stories. And I would repeat the ones that were on the records verbatim, but I would also make up my own, because we were in a very rural setting, and it wasn't that weird. The opening line of one of them is, when I first came down here from Tupelo, Mississippi, I came down here on a tractor. That's right. 450 miles on one tank of gas. And since there were tractors all over the place in Kentucky where we were from, that just kind of rang true to me in a weird way.
Yeah.
And so I would just make stuff up about the neighbor's farm as Mudbone to my mom.
Yeah.
And then, so those two, and then the Hank's Place, give me a fish sandwich, baby. And that kind of like mouth chewing character that he'd always kind of do. He'd always make up people that were chewing their lips when they talk to you, which is a very, like, it's not that unfamiliar to Kentucky and that kind of thing. A lot of lower lip talkers down there, and so it made sense to me. Yeah. And then, oddly enough, Eddie Murphy Delirious, in a kind of similar vein, was Eddie's real attempt to sort of cop that energy of those early Richard Pryor records, when Richard had drifted in his later life into basically talking about showbiz and fame and dealing with stuff. And that's the kind of material that least interests me, and we're probably also pivotal in a negative, in some ways, in what kind of material I would do, because I don't do any material in my act about show business. Sure. I don't do anything about what it's like to be on a television show, people I've met, all that kind of stuff. I sort of have a chip on my shoulder about it, and I resent it openly when people go, so I'm at a party with blah 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 or whatever, or I was on Oprah and I blah blah blah, and it just, like, as an audience member, that just yanks me out of stuff.
100%
unrelatable.
Yep.
Then it's like a humble brag. It just kind of is annoying to me. So for me, it was really important to just be real about your opinions, and eventually it became less about where you are to what you feel like needs to be addressed. Yeah. And that was Wild and Crazy Guy in a sort of an obtuse, the world is ridiculous and I'm going to fuck with it in front of you. Yeah. I'm going to be Steve Martin had said, and I remember reading this when I was little, that his goal was to create the kind of humor that you had with five friends who were all joking around together, and you had kind of a shorthand. Yes. Yeah. And you didn't need to explain everything, you would just do it. Right. And there's a beauty in that. It is nearly impossible to create and continue, which is probably why it was so frustrating for him ultimately. Yeah. And what he did create was ultimately became, in doing a Wild and Crazy Guy on stage, was a character that he'd come up on SNL, and he became, along with people like Larry the Cable Guy and other people like that, who took a character they did on television and started doing it for their live audience. Right. Yeah. Which is a monumentously popular moment for a comedian, and also the death knell for your taking yourself or other people taking you seriously. Yeah. Yeah. And he didn't take himself seriously. Sure. And in the case of, say, Bobcat in the Police Academy movies, I was a huge Bobcat Goldthwait fan. Sure. I mean, Share the Warmth was pivotal. Yeah. And I did Mudbone for my mom, and I would do Bobcat for my dad, because they couldn't understand it, and I would welcome people into the house that way, Thank you very much. My dad's upstairs. He's still in the bathroom. I don't know why. That kind of stuff. And so I would just, and that's dialed back, because I don't want to scare the people in the place we're imbibing.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And then the other one was, and I guess was Comics Line. Okay. Carlin affected me, but in an overall sense. But Billy Crystal's A Comics Line was a special I'd seen on HBO. Okay. And he seemed to, and it really wasn't an album later, it was more like it just lived as the special, although I had the album, and I would listen to it, but you kind of had to see it to get what the fuck was going on. But he essentially took every impersonation, every skill set he had, and it was like an audition tape. Yeah. He didn't give a shit, and he crowbarred every element of his personality, past, everything into one show. Yeah. He's like, I'm doing Muhammad Ali, I'm doing an old Jewish man, I'm doing Maury Amsterdam, I'm doing, I just feel like anything, tapping, anything I could do, I'm throwing it in this show so you fuckers know who I am.
That's insane. Wow.
Yeah. It's a very untoward place that we're aiding in. People keel over here all the time. Sorry about the ambulance noise.
I mean, it's one of those things where, like, that's an album, and I haven't heard that album or seen the special, and I really want to now, but it does seem like that's a thing that could walk a line where, like, that could be cloying as fuck, but it also sounds like because he's so amazing, that has to have blown your mind. Like,
Yeah.
How old were you when you first saw it?
13, 14.
Okay, perfect age.
14 years old.
Yeah.
And I started doing stand-up at 15. And I had that on video cassette.
Mm-hmm.
And in many ways, it was my entrance into, at that point, what was the bellwether for doing stand-up in clubs.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't. You know, people were still shoegazing and talking to the floor.
Yeah.
And or being Emo Phillips or Stephen Wright. These were your two arms.
Yeah.
You could be Kinnison, you could be Bobcat, you could be like a character type, or you could walk around gazing at the tips of your shoes going, what else do we want to talk about?
Yeah.
And I always leaned in the direction of the character types.
Yeah.
I loved Kinnison, I loved Bobcat especially. I loved his ability to, like, the point in Share the Warmth where he walks off stage, sits down in the audience and goes, "You suck! If I wanted to see this shit, I would have went to the Greyhound station." Like, that, to me, was so funny. The Greyhound station. Like, that's his dissection of his own act. If I wanted to see this shit, I would have went to the Greyhound station.
What were you doing at 15 on stage then? I need to know.
I started, because I started in what was called original comedy and forensics, competition acting and drama in school. You did what was called after dinner speaking or original comedy, which was like Toastmasters, and you had to do these speeches. Funny thing happened to me on the way to the dinner tonight things, and they had these bars you had to hit, and it was the guys who won were punny as fuck. It was just so contrite, and I was a stand-up fan. I mean, you're talking about a guy who my dad fixed two mandolins for a guy when I was 7 years old. And the guy didn't have enough money to pay my dad, so instead he traded him a crate of records, LPs, a crate, like a double long milk crate, just stacked with albums. There's probably 100 records in there, and a full-on 30, 35 of them were comedy records. Wow. Godfrey Cambridge, Shelley Berman, Secret Life of the Primate, and other stories. A collection of old radio comedy, including Groucho Marx and stuff, on metal platter records. Like the vinyl was actually imprinted onto a metal platter to keep it solid for a long time, and it worked.
Yeah.
All the early Richard Pryor stuff, including Was It Something I Said? In other words, that as a white person I can't say, which is not an album if you don't know. It's just the code word for the album. All the Carlin records up to that point, especially Toledo Window Box, which was his transitional album.
That's a lot of comedy.
Red Fox. Shit.
Did your dad let you listen to all this?
Oh yeah,
stuff? All of it?
Well, due to poverty, I had a great upbringing in that my parents left me the fuck alone.
Sure.
They did not micromanage my life, nor could they, because they both had to work just to keep us afloat. And so I was alone a good deal of the time with a record player and a lot of filth.
Yeah.
Which is the perfect way to raise a child. And as the father of a 3-year-old, I have plans for this young boy.
No, I bet.
Yeah.
I bet.
That being said, when I started doing stand-up at 15, I was performing in these things for class, and it had to be kind of curtailed towards school or I wasn't going to win anything, was the idea. Like my drama teacher and everybody's going, okay, if you're going to work on an act, have it be something relatable to the kids. They won't give you something that's too adult. So I wrote an act about school, the school day, like my classes. And the best part of it was about driver's ed. And because I'd learned how to drive when I was 13. And I actually do a bit in my act now about it. That's like, that I've furthered, essentially, about the first time I ever drove when I was 13 years old in a car because my mom was sick. And I had to go to the store and back in a stick shift, with my mom just basically explaining it to me in a fevered haze right before she passed out and vomited into a bucket.
Oh, Jesus.
There was no food in the house, and so I had to drive, and that was it. It was as simple. In a Jeep Wrangler, like an old used Jeep Wrangler, just had to drive it down an old country road to a general store and buy some food and come back. Good luck. Enjoy. Here's the keys. And there was like none of the jokes I do now are in that act, but the excitement was there, and I meant what I was saying. Instead of writing cute punny things, I was genuinely pissed, and that was probably the value of it. But I did that set at 27 different meets, and I got a 4th place once. And with that act, I entered the Funniest Teenager in Chicago contest, which was a stand-up competition for teenagers. And there was 2 categories, 16 and under, and 16 and above, 17 and above. And I won 2nd place overall, and because you couldn't win first as one of the youngers. And I won 1st place in my age category with that act. The next year, I said, fuck it, I'm not doing the show they want me to do, because I didn't do well anyways. I played by the rules, and they still lost, so they're better to just fail on my own terms. Did the exact same thing. Went to all the meets, got a 4th place once. Same judge. Liked me. Was like, yeah, but, it didn't do this, it didn't do this, it didn't do this. I didn't do the checklist. That year, I entered the Funniest Teenager in Chicago contest, and I won. And I was on all the networks, and it was a big deal in Chicago, especially. And the next year I came back, nobody was doing regular after dinner speaking. Everybody was doing stand up. All the kids were doing stand up. It was like clear. Everybody was gunning for the next year.
Wow.
And I did a presentation at the next one because I wasn't going to re-enter again. But I got an agent out of it. I got stand up gigs. I was booking and touring at 16, 17 years old. I was driving to Wisconsin on the weekends, to Michigan and Indiana, and wherever I could go in between. There was a club in Louisville, Kentucky that's no longer there back then, and my mom still lived in Kentucky, so I could do 3 places in Kentucky when I would go down to visit her.
Were you at the time aware of at least the sort of some parallels with Eddie Murphy starting out so damn young and
No, I didn't know his background at all. I just knew that he popped into. I knew that he basically. His audition for SNL was like, I'm Eddie Murphy and what's up? And I decided that's how I'm going to roll. Because I'd also, I don't not favor Steve Martin a tad physically. Like, there's a little bit about me where you could kind of go, okay, hey, it looks like a young Steve Martin or something at some point. That's not that odd. And so I bonded with what he looked like as a kid, going, all right, this is a road there's a precedent. There's somebody who looks like me who's done it. In the same way probably Eddie did with Richard. So what I did love about Steve was his false bravado. That whole, I'm sorry, you don't speak Latin. That whole, his just comic arrogance, I really loved. And so I would always come from that sort of point of view. What I didn't realize early on, which helped me because I was short, was that it was better for me, it would work better for me ultimately than it would with Steve across the board, because he had to do a character to sell it. The Wild and Crazy Guy is that arrogance, but played with an accent, so it's safer. When he does it, even now, he does the, with his band, he goes, okay, what song is next? And he pulls out his iPad and he starts going through the set list, and they're all holding up pieces of paper, and he goes, oh, you guys don't have iPads? It's so funny. But it's because he's taking the piss in the abstract, because everybody, there's a window where his hair went white between 2 albums. And it was all fear. If you read the book, it's clear that it was like a nightmare that turned his hair stark white overnight. The performing scared the shit out of him.
Understandable. It's insane.
And I didn't feel that fear. I remember reading Born Standing Up and going, this is the best description of what stand-up is ever like that I've read, as far as the mechanics of what's going on in your actual head while you're doing it. And yet I disagree with him on emotion entirely.
Really?
I am not frightened by this process at all, and I felt bad for him that he was, and I did not understand why, because he was clearly skilled, he was clearly aware of his skill. Later I would realize that he's chasing Woody Allen's career, and he has always been arguably one step behind Woody Allen in what he wants to do. And if you watch what Steve does, Woody does it, and then Steve starts doing it, with the exception of directing. But the movie content, from Cruel Shoes coming out after Without Feathers, and I forget the other Woody book, but they look the same. The type was the same, black with white lettering and the same font. L.A. Story is arguably, in many ways, his Annie Hall, with Woody pulling from vaudeville, but Steve pulling from Shakespeare. The Woody doing big band,
definitely.
Clarinet music, Steve using banjo music, but if you arguably listen to the first song in L.A. Story, it could fit in the beginning of any Woody Allen movie, but for the instrumentation. And then Woody goes back to playing and touring with his band. Steve goes back to playing and touring with his band. If Woody Allen started doing stand-up again, we would see a Steve Martin stand-up tour.
God, that'd be amazing.
Yeah, it would.
It's fairly common for people to talk about their parents giving them comedy albums.
Yeah.
This is different in that it's not like, at least it doesn't seem like, and correct me if I'm wrong, that your dad was introducing you to, hey, here's an album I love. It's no, here's a stack of albums.
Yeah.
You get to make your own taste.
Yeah, he didn't actually. I'm not even sure he was aware that they were in there or cared.
Okay.
He was more interested in the bluegrass records that were in there.
Okay.
And could kind of piss off the rock stuff that was in there and didn't care. And it was just like, okay, I'll take that for that. That's all.
Was he a luthier? Is that what he did?
Yeah. Well, no, he doesn't build guitars. He does fretwork.
Oh, okay, he does fretwork. Okay.
So, and he's done it for Vince Gill, and he's done it for Bela Fleck, and he's done it for Sam Bush, and for tons of country artists and big monkey mucks in that world. Especially the instrumentation is the guy who, the guys who really take it seriously.
Sure.
A lot of them tend to go to my dad.
That's awesome.
It's awesome. And Steve Martin actually bought 2 banjos from my dad when I was young, and I so wanted to meet him, but it never worked out that he came and got them or anything like that. But they were, and I once tried to meet Steve when he was filming Planes, Trains, and Automobiles in Chicago, and they were at the Wilmette L stop, the end of the line. And they were shooting the scene where he runs to his house, whatever, little short thing, or he runs back to get John Candy. He tries to find him there, and he's gone. And I went up to the guard and I was like, "Can you tell Steve my name's Hal Sparks and I'm a comedian here, and my dad once sold him 2 banjos and blah blah blah." And the response was, "Steve's very tired and he doesn't really even play the banjo that much anymore." I was like, "That's a little piece of information I didn't really need." They kind of rub it in.
Right. Oh.
I think they may have made that up. I don't know that would have been Steve saying it.
Just anything to
get me out of there.
That's too bad.
Yeah. By the way, years later, I would speak to him at the Comedy Awards, where he gave the greatest acceptance speech, I think, in the history of acceptance speeches, where he couldn't remember his agent's name on purpose. It was genius. And he just flubbed them out. It's great. Again, another example of that, that false arrogance comedy ploy, And everybody warned me, don't talk to Steve because it'll ruin it for you, because he's very kind of reserved and he's shy, and he just just don't get your hopes up, because he just doesn't talk to people unless you're friends with, and da-da-da. And I'm sitting at the table, and he had just made a quote about Talk Soup. And he said, "Irony in American media lives and dies on Talk Soup," I think was the quote. And it was while I was hosting. And it was clear that he was watching while I was on. Yeah. And that's awesome.
Yeah.
And it was a compliment. And it was spectacular.
Yeah.
That he had mentioned it and cared.
Yeah.
And we're the only place you can find true irony in the entire.
That's about right.
Yeah. And I wanted to go up and say thank you, but everyone was like, "Don't." And I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna take this opportunity. And you know why I'm gonna take this opportunity? Because I had the chance to tell Madeline Kahn that I thought she was fucking funniest person ever, and was blindly bulletproof, purely funny. That woman was funny on a cellular level.
Yes.
And I saw her eating at Kate Manalini's by herself before I was anybody in 1990 or 91 or something like that. And she was sitting there alone or whatever, and I wanted to go over and tell her, and I didn't. She was dead a year later from cancer because she. And I was like, is she eating alone because she just needed to get out of the house because she just found out? I should have walked up to her. I should have been there. So I don't stop myself anymore.
Understandable.
Yeah. And so I walked over to Steve and I was like, I don't care what this goes down. Even if he's a dick, I'm going to say hi or whatever. Not only was he not a dick, he was awesome. And he just started blathering. He just started going blah, 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 and talking to me. I couldn't tell you a word he fucking said. I have nearly a photographic memory. I couldn't tell you what the fuck he said at all because I was so shocked that he was speaking. All I heard was blah, 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 and inside, I was like, "Smile, jerk! He's talking to you." Like it was such an 8th grade date moment where I'm like picking up some girl at the for the prom or whatever. And I was like, I can't believe Steve Martin's saying stuff. And I was like, "Listen, asshole, he's saying things that matter." And I couldn't tell you what the fuck he said because I was so prepped that he wouldn't. So the other thing is, I don't give a shit what other people say about the opinion of another person because your experience of them won't be the same experience.
No.
As my mother used to say, consider the source.
Right, exactly.
Right.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah. So, back to albums.
Yes, but I mean, you got to make your own taste in a way. I mean, did you feel yourself influenced to listen to anything in particular, or were you just listening and listening?
I listened, yeah. There was, Godfrey Cambridge had 2 records in there, and I can't remember the titles offhand, but I still have them.
Okay.
And they were very much, you could see the bridge between what Pryor did later and what Cosby was doing to great effect on television.
Sure.
There was a middle zone where he was making a bigger point about being black in America than what was being in the zone where Richard would go, but more acceptable in how he delivered it and comfortable on stage, more showman-y than, in the vein of what Cosby was doing. He was very comfortable as a stage performer. Yeah. It never struck me that Richard was. Richard seemed very, especially in the early days, shy. You watch that stuff, he's like hiding behind a cigarette. That cigarette that he's smoking in the Live and Smoking might as well be as big as a tree.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's true.
And he's just ducking behind it. So Godfrey Cambridge had a big influence. The sketch stuff on Shelley Berman's Sex Life of the Primate and Other Stories was great because most of them seemed to be about a dude trying to pick up a chick and get her in bed using old-fashioned 60s politics. Like jokes about, like, there's a bit on that album about how this woman can't sleep with him because he looks like Adlai Stevenson.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, that's the only reason she won't. And they're close to having sex, but she backs off. Why? What is it? You look like too much like Adlai Stevenson, and she's got a political problem with it.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I love it. And the Sex Life of the Primate is about this guy who marries an ape and how it's going. It's a pretty fucked up record for a 9-year-old or an 8-year-old.
Definitely.
But great.
Yeah.
Toledo Window Box was a big deal. My dad and his buddies would play bluegrass till about 4 a.m. and smoke pot. And I would fall asleep, probably contact buzzed under their seat now that I think of it. But I've never imbibed. I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't do drugs, I never will. But I had tremendous respect for the effect that the drug had on Carlin in many ways. And that it was a pivotal it freed him from what he thought was an internal mental cage. My feeling always is that you should just do the effort to free yourself from that mental cage. Otherwise, you're going to be trapped by the next one and the next one and the next one because, it's not your get out of jail free card.
Right, yeah.
So that was a big one. Toledo Window Box was amazing.
So you had this, was there a sense that you were going to do anything with it, or was it just for you, this little thing that you had, this entertainment? Was it an escape? What was it for you? Could you tell it was an education?
No. There was no. I didn't understand conceptually. Growing up in Kentucky, I had no idea you could make a living art.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
And I've mentioned this in interviews before, but the best example I could give of when I would listen to a comedy record is that I thought it was like an album of birdsong. My grandfather would have these albums of birdsong, and it was just ridiculous. He put on this album and it's like, the red-breasted whippoorwill, and you just. My grandfather would just put these on and listen to them, and then go outside and go, put his ear out. Oh, there's one. There's the, the chestnut-crested Harbinger or whatever the fuck, and some nonsense, and it fascinated my grandfather, and he would do them really well. But to me, it was like that's what a comedy record was. I had no idea someone was getting paid for this shit. I just thought somebody walked in like a gathering of people like at a state fair, and some guy just decides to stand up and tell some jokes because that's the kind of guy he is. And somebody just taped it because he does it every year. That's essentially what I thought it was. And like a town crier being recorded or something.
What about music, though? I mean, if your dad was dealing with musicians a lot, did you have a better concept of that as a thing? Or was it still...
Sure, yeah. Well, I mean, I knew concerts went on. I knew there were tickets to be bought and sold. But the idea that a guy would get paid to stand and tell jokes was ridiculous by comparison. You had to pay the band. They had a lot of shit to drive over.
Yes, yeah.
They had to gas up the truck.
It's an obvious skill. It's a thing that you can see has been developed.
Yeah.
I can't do that naturally.
You have to go to school for it in some cases, or you have to study long hours. And stand-up just seemed like an accident when you don't know.
Yeah.
And so, in listening to the albums, I was just like, that's fun. I'll do that with my friends. And so, like a lot of kids, I would quote the albums to my friends, do entire sides of an album in a big recitation standing outside of the band room or at lunch and whatever. And it wasn't until I moved to Chicago that I really grasped that it was a skill set and that it was a job, a real job, a career you could have. Because in Chicago, they treat it like the job that it is. Like, entertainment in Chicago is treated like some sort of like mid-level random company.
Yeah.
Like you start at the bottom, like, you know, mailroom gigs, and then you work your way up to middle management gigs as a feature act, and then one day you get to head the company and you're the headliner.
Yeah.
There's no magic. Nobody taps you on the shoulder and says, "Hey, kid, you got moxie." You know, you get picked up at a fucking lunch counter. That doesn't happen.
Right.
What happens is you discover you have an affinity for something, not a talent, but a love for it, because that's really what you need. What most people mistake for talent is an early love for something.
Sure.
Because an early love for it will give you the drive to get through the shitty parts.
Yeah.
Talent is really just falling in love with something before other people. So you get a jump start on working it out. And that affinity allows you to get through year 3, which in whatever you're trying to do, no matter what you want to try, do you want to play the guitar, you want to learn a foreign language, you want to be an accountant, year 3 fucking sucks.
Yep.
It's, for a lot of people, it's yellow belt into green belt. The world is full of yellow belts because year 3 sucks, and passing that third test is a pain in the ass, and it's lost the magic because it's not as instantaneous and kind of full of challenge. It's a different level. It's more minute challenges, and so people just give up.
Yeah, especially if you understand it more, and the magic seems to be gone if you don't know how to capture it again. If you think you've got it.
Well, if you have the illusion that it was magic in the first place,
exactly.
You're not even aware of where you got the skill. If you can really think about, oh shit, I used to do this in front of my friends. Oh shit, I used to do this in front of my family.
Yeah.
Oh, that's why I can dance, because we didn't have a television set and I always had to dance.
Right.
That's why I can dance in real life. Yeah. I'm a good dancer. The reason I'm a good dancer is because we were poor as fuck.
Yeah.
And we would just turn on music in the house and dance.
That's awesome.
That's what you do when you don't have when you're it. So stand-up is kind of a similar thing until I moved to Chicago, and in Chicago it's like, okay, you start on the bottom. What do you know? It's almost like why I say there are no hecklers anymore. There are no hecklers, because hecklers are not drunks who just kind of interject or verbally boo a crap comedian, which is not a heckler. That's a disgruntled customer. They're allowed.
Yeah.
If you suck, they're allowed to say so.
Yeah.
That's not being heckled. A heckler is a local comic who has yet to make it in the scene there.
Yeah.
Who has seen the national headliner come through a couple years in a row. And every time he comes through, he does the same fucking act. Like touring comics tend to do.
Yeah.
And by this time, he's seen it and he knows it. And so he knows right when to go, because he crossed the road, like right before the punchline.
Yeah.
And you can capsize the guy's act by yelling his punchlines or interrupting his punchlines, because you know when they're coming, because it's so fucking shticky.
Yeah.
And you're so tired. And what you do is you would do that back in the day. You would heckle that way. You'd totally cave in a guy's act.
Yeah.
Because it was the same hack bullshit. And then afterwards, you would go up to the, like you come up 2 days later. You'd go to the club owner and go, hey man, I'd love to get up here. I was, I don't know if you noticed, but I got a bunch of laughs the other night when I fucked with the guy here.
Right.
And he goes, all right, I'll give you 3 minutes, but not when that guy's here. And that's what you would do. You would become the local comic who would elbow your way into the scene.
Yeah, I never thought about it that way.
Free open mics and stuff, and the ubiquity of comedy as a career. That's what you did, and I used to do it at Zanies. I even apologized to Skip Raparis at one point for shitting a hole in his act when I was 16. Because I'd come over from Second City and I was watching his act and like, this motherfucker. And I yelled at one point, I feel like I've died and gone to summer camp. And that was I got a huge laugh from the crowd from it.
Shit. Yeah.
Because he was a guitar comic. And that got me an opening set like a week later.
Yeah.
And then I would just go do opening sets whenever I could.
It's crazy. Yeah, that's the most sensitive version or perspective on the heckler I think I've ever heard. A lot of comics are very protective of that, of themselves and of their craft.
From hecklers?
They think in general they shouldn't be ever interrupted or challenged like that, and I get it.
That's like a massage therapist saying, "I never want anybody on the table to get a Charlie horse." Sorry, sometimes it's gonna fucking happen.
Yeah.
And anybody who blames the audience is like a massage therapist going, "I'm sorry, I can't do anything for you. You're too tense."
Yeah.
That's your job, man. Get over it. And quite frankly, like Jamie Kennedy's movie Heckler is the biggest fucking piece of shit travesty towards comedy in the world because A, he sucked and deserved being called out. It wasn't anonymous. It turned into this thing about anonymous online people.
Yeah.
And it wasn't anonymous. It was a guy who was speaking up because Jamie's set was rambling and not funny.
Yeah, right.
And again, that's not a heckler. That's one of your customers going, I've seen this and this is not good. This is not a good representation of your best. And I paid to see you bring it. And you're not, clearly. And you seem to think it's my fault.
Right.
So fuck you. That's not a heckler.
Sure.
A heckler is a guy is streaming along doing a great job with the audience, and this guy decides to derail it for his own entertainment in that regard, or to take the piss, or to get his buddies in on the action, or to just because he needs the attention blindly, which is usually your garbled drunk yeller, which is still not a heckler too. It's just a sad person in need of attention.
Sure.
But I'm not kidding about heckler. I think that's a fucking joke. I mean, arguably, that's the premise of that movie was so shitty. That's why it dovetailed into talking about like YouTube commenting as the main premise of the second half of the movie, because there wasn't enough to sustain that he had been unfairly, compromised in his performance by this guy. And arguably, most people who watched that, when he brought the guy back into the room and asked him, the guy was right.
That's a good point. I couldn't finish it. I couldn't finish the movie, so I just...
No, I got it. If I wasn't in the industry and I didn't know Jamie Kennedy from a hole in the wall, I'd have shit a hole in his act too, from that guy's perspective. Out of just my desire, my love of stand-up.
Yeah. That's another thing too, is like I don't hear as often, and I don't know if I don't know what the difference is. It's just probably just a personality thing, but you take it, for lack of a better word, very seriously. It's a very, it's such a strong craft for you. I don't hear it that often. Does it come from, it being hammered in your head from such a young age? Or is it just...
I think it was my early love of Carlin.
Yeah.
And his just doing it till he died.
Yeah.
Mixed with Steve Martin being my favorite, arguably, at a time, and bailing out right when it was good, and feeling kind of betrayed slightly by that. Yeah. And I was like, hey, fuck you. Everybody loved you. Everybody was getting what you were doing. Yeah. You had no reason to not do what you did. And to this day, I have always had a chip on my shoulder about the sets, what I call 7 minutes to stand up. The guys who have a 7-minute, Tonight Show act, arguably, that can be built, structured, conceivably into a stand-up based sitcom.
Yeah.
Or what I call the sort of the ingrown toenail of racist stand-up, which is you stand up there as an Italian and all you talk about is being Italian, and your parents are Italian and my kids are Italian, and this is what Italians are like, and we're Italian, so we blah blah blah, and you create your own stereotype and reinforce it over and again, and it doesn't go just to race. It can go to I'm the fat guy and these are the fat jokes, and I'm the bald guy and these are the bald jokes, and this
South, etc.
Right. And I will and defending it while shitting on it at the same time. And I would rather, if you hate it, call it out. If you like it, defend it.
Yeah.
Against everybody else's stuff, even if it's a funny defense.
Sure.
my argument has always been in the stuff that I talk about that I'm not shameless. I'm shame-free. I don't believe in guilty pleasures because I don't believe in feeling guilty for anything that gives me pleasure.
Sure. Yeah.
Because fuck you. I don't listen to Rat with your ears. What do you care?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it, and the end of that joke, of course, is you know what a guilty pleasure is. Great. If you find pleasure from that, you're fucking guilty. Go to jail. But don't equate that with the fact that I like chocolate-covered strawberries on occasion. Like, shut up. And I'm not going to hide it.
Yeah.
So it is an art form.
Sure.
And it is the only singular art form left.
Yeah.
Especially that is... Stand-up is the only art form that has one proper response.
That's true. Yeah.
You can listen to poetry and you can be moved quietly or loudly. You can clap or snap, or you can gasp, or you can remain quiet and intense. You can have a tear roll down your face, and it's still appropriate to the circumstance.
Yeah.
You can watch a dramatic movie and you can cry, or you can, remain silent, or you can even laugh because you don't think it was portrayed quite well, or you find it absurd that someone is upset by these things. Whatever it is. Yeah. And it's appropriate.
Yeah.
But stand-up, stand-up is the only art form where the only proper response is I get your diaphragm to convulse and bark air out of your neck. That's it.
Yeah.
If you clap, it's not the same fucking thing. I'm not doing stand-up for applause.
Yeah.
And the occasional applause isn't a bad thing. There was a certain point in Carlin's career where he was getting more applause than laughs, and it annoyed him.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's that kind of like if you're a comic who has a very strong point of view, but that point of view is maybe political, somewhat political. Because I mean, I know that you've got some strong political opinions because you do. You're a human,
right?
But you're not afraid to talk about them,
right?
There are some comics who are very much about the purity and whatever makes people laugh. But sometimes that becomes an excuse to pander. That becomes an excuse to do shit.
It more becomes an excuse to run from the things you really want to talk about.
Yeah.
It's avoidance behavior. There are, like in the political stuff that I do, what I discovered was, especially during the Bush years and the early bit of the Iraq War, when I was having to rebuild my stand-up from scratch, because my act before then had, by accident of birth and circumstance, been based on the premise that I'm right, but no one fucking listens to me.
Yeah. Well,
that's the essence of what I'm talking about. That's it. I'm a nobody, but I'm right about this. Yeah. And that fueled a lot of the anger and energy that was in my act and what made it work.
Sure.
The problem is once you get on television, whether you deserve it or not, everybody listens to you.
Yeah.
And so it sounds false. In the same way that once Steve Martin became really popular, the false bravado, when he became a bit of a sex symbol and was, dating Bernadette Peters and was sought after, him going up there and acting brash for a while was a bit of a conceit and didn't work.
Yeah.
Your own shift of fate and fame took it away from you. Now that he's older and he's a gentleman, comedian, he can go back to being I'm there because he's older, and there's this idea that you're past your prime and you're allowed to take the piss.
Yeah.
So I had this whole act about why isn't anybody listening to me? And it was based on that fervor. Yeah. And I still feel that internally, but it's not received by the audience the same way. So I had to rebuild from scratch once I got on Talk Soup and the like. I've been able to get it back because I'm seen sort of artistically as an outsider because of Queer as Folk and because of now I'm on a kids show. That Saget kind of energy allows you to do whatever the fuck you want to.
Yeah.
Where if you're trapped, the idea is you're trapped on a kids show, so you can do whatever you want. And the reality is I'm on the first mixed race lead couple on an American sitcom. It's a big deal. It's a pivotal historical show.
Yeah.
But for all practical purposes, anybody who doesn't watch it doesn't know that. So I get that anyway. It's not. It's accidentally alty, as it were.
Yeah.
And so I can clamor for attention again, and it works. Okay. But in the beginning, it's you're on Talk Soup, everybody listens.
Right.
You're a dick. So I had to rebuild it, and in doing that, I realized that if I had a Bush joke, and I had many, if I said the word Bush, there was a percentage of the audience their ears would shut.
Yep. Yeah.
Because not because they didn't agree with me, but because the terrorists will win.
Yeah.
And I realized that if I didn't make fun of Bush by saying his name, but if I made fun of guys who wear cowboy hats but have no cows, that premise allowed me to tacitly make fun of the president as adjunct and all of his stupid decisions, and lay down a myriad of explanations about how that kind of person will make stupid decisions that will, eventually the more important those decisions become, the more dangerous they become to all of us, without ever mentioning his name in the outright.
Yeah.
But that allowed those people who's, the minute you said Bush would go, no. It allowed them to laugh.
Yeah.
And so I realized I was playing a bit of a shell game. And once I realized that, I got mad. And then I went, instead of going, I won't do it, I went, okay, if that's the game you're going to make me play, I'm really going to fuck with you now.
Right.
And so, in sort of a hat-related thing, I started fucking with the Pope. Because it's, and then I made up this whole bullshit story about why the Pope wears a big hat is to fend off bears, because back in the 12th century when they would drag him around in a cube, with a bunch of guys carrying him through the woods, if a bear showed up, all those guys would chuck it and run. They were all paid to be there, and here was the lonely Pope in the middle of the woods, and the only thing that would stop a bear is if you're taller than he is. So they had to dress him in the biggest outfit possible. And then I made up this whole story about how they pick a pope by having two of them put on these fighting pope hats and go at each other like rams. And then I would end the bit by saying the essential essence was, everything I said just now was bullshit. All that was complete bullshit. But here's the thing. If it turned out to be true, would you be that shocked compared to the other shit that they do?
Right.
And that gave me room to dick around the edges of it without even picking on the one pope that was in, which would... But the concept of the Pope allowed me to play around the edges.
Yeah.
The concept, and then, so instead of, I let the need for a lie for the comfort of my audience serve me instead of something I wrestled with. I put a bridle on it and just said, okay, this is the dragon we're riding together. And I think that's your job as a comic.
When did it first become, when did it first become obvious that was a thing? Meaning, at first, if you're sitting at home, I don't know if you had headphones and you were listening to the records, but like there's this purity of, I don't have anybody else cueing me when to laugh. I'm laughing at this thing, this person's speaking to me, this person's doing comedy at me, this is all for me. When did it become, and I'm assuming it's later on, once you've done it for a while, that you had to have, well, not had to, but you wanted to be saying something? Was that obvious to you from the get-go? Comedy
had to serve a purpose.
Okay.
Originally, some people will use the court jester as the example.
Yeah.
Okay. Many people think that the goal of the court jester was to make the king laugh and the whole court, like he was just the clown for the court.
Right.
That wasn't the jester's job. The jester's job was to keep the king, who was an inbred maniac, from killing the members of the court that actually made the country run by shitting on them in front of him and lowering their status so he felt safe around them. So this guy would come in, fuck with all of them, but not him, prove he was best, shit on them, and then they could go about their own. It was their own safety. It was this valve to let the king out of him, because if he didn't, the chancellor in charge of fucking farming would suddenly have way too much power, and he knew all the farmers, and what if they all got together and I don't trust this guy, and whack. And then suddenly you've killed the only fucking guy who knows how to farm really well.
Yeah.
And the inbred, turkey leg eating asshole who just killed his wife isn't going to come up with a good plan. He's idiocracy waiting to happen. He's going to look for Gatorade to pour on the plants, right? Because it has electrolytes. And so the jester was there to take the piss out of the court so the king would lose his mind and kill all the useful people. The American public is not the chancellor, it's the king. Americans are kings. We have now decided not that we want a real democracy, but that we want to be kings. We want to sit in our big easy chair throne with our remote control scepter, sitting in front of a box full of jesters going off with his head, off with his head, off with his head, off with his head, which is what changing a channel is. Off with his head, off with his head. And as somebody whose head was in a box for both I Love the 80s and Talk Soup, maybe I'm a little more sensitive to this channel flipping circumstance than others. But I became very aware that the court aspect of humanity our own individual good choices we make towards our own families, towards what jobs we do, and all that kind of stuff, can be overrun by our iddish, dickhead, road rage prick that lives inside of our lizard brain.
Sure.
And so what the comic is there for is to act as an intermediary to make the lizard brain calm the fuck down so the rest of us can get about our lives a bit.
Yeah.
Besides also debugging social structures as a mechanic, because that's evolutionarily why we exist. Comedy and higher social orders actually exists so that we can debug the more complex systems, because we all, in social interactions, we create cul-de-sacs where everything goes wrong, and we have to have somebody go, everything's wrong, just this way, everybody back out this way, this is wrong, we all do this and it's stupid, don't walk down this road anymore.
Right.
And that's what a comic's job is, maybe. But also is that court gesture to keep the dumb among us from kind of ruling the sway. So we walk up and we kind of gather us all in one big family and go, we all make these simple mistakes.
Yeah.
And then there are certain people who make these big dumb fucking mistakes.
Yeah.
And I'm going to shit on them for a little while.
Right.
And so people don't think that's them because they want to be right rather than they would be happy. So they will look at that person that I'm making fun of and go, that can't be me. I would never do that. And from that point on, hopefully they will not engage in that behavior ever again.
Exactly. There's something to be said about the shame that comes from somebody comically pointing out some shit you just realized you weren't doing. You didn't realize you were doing wrong.
Oh, yeah.
And I know that I mean, when I was a younger man and maybe a little stupid, definitely a little stupider. I mean, there are definitely times when someone would make a joke and I'd be like, oh, you're right. I should never ever. There's a shitty side of me that I'm not
right.
there. You know.
Right.
And it's just.
And it gives you an excuse to not do it again and to laugh it off. If you did, you don't even have to catch yourself in public.
No.
You see somebody else doing it, you laugh amongst your friends about it, and you all stop doing it. And if that's the goal that comedy serves, ultimately, it's an incredibly important job.
Yeah.
It is the glue of society. It keeps it from eating itself. We are literally responsible for the rage, misery, and sorrow not becoming the dominant, controlling emotions.
Yeah.
Unnecessarily and curiously unfairly, because if you look at the balance of life, it is 80% good and 20% shit.
Sure.
But our lizard brain wants to focus on the 20% because that's the part that puts us in danger, and so it's his job to keep us alive, so that's what he'll look at. But the 80%, if you don't know that 80% is there, then you think 20% is all there is, and in focusing on that, you bring more of that 20%, and that blossoms into your 80%, and the 20% becomes this shitty little happiness you cling to like an asshole.
Yeah.
So, as a comic, that's our job, and so, fuck yeah, I consider it important.
Yeah.
It's medicine.
Yeah.
It's really medicine.
Does it help keep you on track, too? I mean, you seem like obviously you're very strongly opinionated, but I mean, does doing your own comedy ever help bring you back, center you, ever?
You have a responsibility to be centered, otherwise the comedy that you have will be too obtuse.
Sure.
I think it's important, like, in many reasons it's why I fly coach even when I don't necessarily have to, and why I shop and do all my own shit. Like, I have an assistant, but it's mostly for doing calendars and scheduling and that kind of stuff.
Yep.
The stuff
heart attack shit. The heart attack shit.
Yeah, like nobody needs to do that. No. But it has to be done, and it's better that I'm out in the world and taking my son to the playground and those kind of things, because that's the stuff that's the bonding, circular, social stuff that needs to be picked through, dissected, and addressed. Yeah. And the more I do that, the better my material is. If I go see, like I went and saw the Guardians of the Galaxy premiere last night. As a geek, that's one I would have no problem seeing in a regular theater. I'll go buy a ticket. I sit at a premiere and I'm like, there's far too little popcorn and nobody's having as much fun as I am. I prefer that. And that's when I will sit in it, had I not been that kind of person where I only go to those kind of things because I arguably could, I could see 8, 10, 15 movies a year just by going to premieres just in LA enough.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have been in the theater when I first saw the Noah trailer come up and stood up and went, what the fuck? Which is what I did. I was so pissed when the Noah trailer came up that I acted out. And had I not had that, that wouldn't have been the impetus for probably a 20-minute bit on Noah's Ark that I needed to do.
Yeah. All right, I don't want to keep you any further, but I normally at the end of an episode,
because it's fascinating. Let's be honest.
But I've been holding back on fanboying, so I'm
understood.
You know,
I appreciate that.
So, normally we ask somebody to say why they would recommend a certain album. We haven't really stuck with one album, but if there's one album that's in there that is central to you, and people treat people as though they've never heard it, maybe they don't know that artist that well.
Right.
Is there one in there that's so seminal?
Yeah, I mean, I would have to go with Black Ben the Blacksmith just because it's the harder one to find. Like, if I recommend Wild and Crazy Guy or Let's Get Smaller, even Toledo Window Box or Harlan Does It Again or those kind of things, those are a little more, especially for a comedy audience, those are a little more common in that regard. That part of the lexicon, you may know that one already.
Yeah. Okay.
But it's that of Richard's stuff, it's a little more deep reads and sonically ill-prepared. But it is goddamn functional. I was on Raw Dog on comedy, and I got to take over and play whatever I wanted. And that was that one bit, Black Ben the Blacksmith, was damn near my whole segment because it's almost 8 minutes long.
That's awesome. Yeah.
But it's so, people, if you're a comic and you want to be a comic, you have to, you got to get Bill Cosby himself. You got to get all of Carlin's lexicon because you'll know what material has been covered better than you can ever cover it, and you can just decide not to deal with it. You got to get Charmageddon, my album, because that shit is fine-tuned, motherfucker. You have to get a comic that you hate.
Yeah.
You have to find somebody that sucks.
Yeah.
And that has 9 albums out.
Yeah.
And you got to pick one. You got to listen to the whole thing end to end. And I'm not going to tell you which one it is. But you can pick any number. And you got to listen to how they've successfully actually concocted multiple albums and been successful doing it, especially if you're a comic.
Yeah.
So you get mad. So when I write jokes, it's the same way I write songs a lot of times. If it doesn't just come out of inspiration, it comes one or two ways. I will put on, when I'm writing songs, the greatest concert I have on DVD or video or on YouTube. I will do, Kiss 1972, and they're at this little fucking ballroom in New York in black and white, and it's just a fire in their gut, and they're just burning the shit, and they're using flame pots in a place with 12-foot ceilings, and they're wearing just fucking awesome. Or, Metallica, Live Shit Binge and Purge, or Peter Gabriel's So. Those concerts where you're just like, God damn, that's how you do it. And that's very much Eddie Murphy comedian. Yeah. That's very much Bill Cosby himself. That's very much Chris Rock's first special. It's very much what I would say is Billy Crystal, a comics line. Steve Martin, you can actually watch that live Wild and Crazy Guy. That's available. You watch the big shit. You watch the inspiring, oh my God. But if you watch too much of it, you'll think you can't top it.
Of course.
And you'll get nervous. So then, you watch that and you stop. And you find some derelict piece of shit pedestrian crap to watch. The lamest wedding jokes and fucking fast food jokes, whatever. Just find somebody awful.
Yeah.
And you have to watch the whole thing with a notepad next to you. And what you will do is you'll start writing jokes that have nothing to do with what he's saying on stage. You'll just write jokes because you're so fucking mad and you hate the premise of everything he's saying or she's saying that you'll go, fuck this. You know what a joke's about? I'll fucking show you, fella. And that just and the same thing with concerts. If I'm going to write a song, I will watch that, and then I will go see a shit band live. And I'll sit there and I'll go, they're fucking this up for everyone in this room. And I care so much as an audience member for what I would like to say and for my fellow audience members that I will go home and write a song that kicks ass.
Yeah. It's perfect.
It's it.
Yeah.
That's the recipe, man. Go see something you hate. Go see a shitty open mic. Don't take anybody's premise. Don't write anybody's, don't redraft their joke. Don't go, they missed the joke here, they could have, blah. Fuck that off entirely. Write stuff that's totally different from what you're seeing on stage, but just get mad.
Yeah. I like it. Most people come on and they say, just keep working, you'll do it.
No.
I like the passion that people don't talk about often.
Well, you nitpick the work. The work has to come. And, the Carlin methodology, because I met Carlin when I was at Aspen. I never got to do Aspen. I was always denied. I auditioned and they would say no.
Really?
And the woman who used to book it actually called my manager and said there is nothing special about Hal Sparks. Like, fuck you.
Wow.
Go out of here. Just say no. But go out of the way. Like, it was like dickish.
Yeah.
She's no longer in the industry, by the way. It doesn't even work involved in comedy in any way.
Good.
But it was very distinct. I couldn't get up there. So I said, fuck it, I'm going anyways. I'm going to go up there and schmooze. I don't care what happens. I actually had more time in front of the audiences there than the people doing the shows did. Because I would stand in line and joke with whoever was with me, make them laugh, and then I would get business cards. I booked so many shows
my
from
God.
just being in line at shows at Aspen that I wouldn't have gotten had I been on stage. But I was there and I watched this thing with Carlin. He did a talk or whatever. And unfortunately, the interview of him was fairly pedestrian. It was all like historical and violent. And, like, you can look all that shit up. Who gives a fuck?
Yeah.
Especially as comics or people who love comedy. So basically, as I was leaving, I ducked out, and they were bringing him out a side door, and then the audience got let out, and they ducked him into a little like elevator lobby where they could shut the door, and it was me and him and two of his handlers that were working for the festival. We were just trapped there as people were walking by until they passed.
Oh my God.
And it was just this weird, uncomfortable silence for a few minutes. And I said, I'd be an asshole. First of all, you're my hero comedically. I would be an asshole if I didn't ask you for advice. And he simply said, write everything down. Even your shittiest, dumbest joke idea, because someday it may be the bridge between two great pieces of material that explodes an idea.
Yeah.
Write it all down. And I keep copious notes. I use Evernote now, but I have all kinds of, like, hardbound, not loose leaf, not ring bound, hard-bound books that I would write jokes in, just pages and stuff. What he would do is basically write this kind of ideas. Take a concept, be a mercenary about it. And I did this with sleep. I have a bit on sleep that I'm very proud of. But it was my first mercenary bit where I went, I don't actually have this problem. I don't have a problem sleeping. But it's so prevalent that it needs to be dealt with.
Okay.
And so I sat down and you make 3 columns and you write everything you immediately think about sleep or whatever the topic is. Driving a car, whatever it is. Everything that immediately comes to mind. The gas pedal, the brakes, the windshield wiper, putting shit in getting your insurance, why you have, like, just having insurance, whatever. Super list. Everything that immediately comes to mind. And you write down everything you've ever heard cliche-wise about driving a car, any bullshit, in the second column. You write anything that you've ever heard somebody say about driving a car, about what they hate about driving, or what they like about driving, or the problem they've had, even like, oh, this light's been on, or I haven't gone to the fucking thing, or I don't know when to schedule my maintenance required, yada, yada, yada. Anything you've heard anybody else say. And then on the third one, you brainstorm how those 2 columns make you feel.
Okay.
You basically just start writing the ideas. They come, and those will essentially be the punchlines. You'll start, your comedic brain will start mashing all that shit up in a smoothie, and you'll start coming out with the essential essences of your punchlines. And at that point, you'll start clicking jokes. You'll start banging jokes out if your brain works comedically, and it will. And it will if it's a habit. Carlin used cards, I think, a lot of times. He would peg cards up, and then he would draft out his show that way, almost like a screenplay.
Yeah.
And he would write out pieces, memorize them, and then he would start organizing the things. But he would do this 3-column kind of list, and then this big page of writing a monologue. He would write it out, and try to create a beginning, middle, and end, and resurgence. Chris Rock writes songs, clearly. They have choruses, I ain't saying he should have done it, but I understand. Like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You always go back to it. Like, and he builds to a present, the verse. And I saying he should have done it, but I understand. He goes back to that bit. That's the chorus.
Yeah.
Carlin actually gave it away in one of his specials, and I want to say it was in the round when he's talking, and he goes on this bit about time. What time is it? And he messes it up at one time. Some people will say what time it is. Sometimes, what time is it? And he goes, I get stuck doing these ballads, man. And he says ballads. And it was such a wake-up call for me.
It's so good.
He writes his act like you need a ballad. You got to pace your audience. And so some of his bits are fucking rock songs.
Awesome.
And some of them are ballads.
Yeah.
And you got to write a ballad for your crowd.
Yeah.
And his ballads had these callbacks, these like soft choruses that he would go back to in concept.
It's so good.
And sometimes what it is that thing you write down, that cliche you heard, is so strong, it's the bit.
Sure.
And then what you do is you just keep pegging that to prove the premise of that cliche over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And then at the end, you can either undercut the cliche entirely and ruin it for comedic effect, or you can super reinforce it. You nail in the coffin.
Yeah.
And if you look at like, the greatest bullshit story ever told, his diatribe on religion.
Yeah.
But he loves you, and he needs money. He's all powerful, all knowing, can't handle money, And he just hits that, just beats up on this. He's great, but he sucks. But he's great, but he sucks. But he's great, but he sucks. And it keeps getting worse to the point where the last one is because this is a man we're talking to it about.
Yeah.
And so he lets you in on that.
It's so good.
Yeah. So I be a mercenary. Pick something. Fucking aspirin.
Yeah.
Take, just painkillers. Everybody's addicted to painkillers. How much fuck until are you 90% pain? Is that why it kills you? Like that kind of thing. Like it's that simple. Like that's me just going on that idea.
Yeah.
But it's because my brain is now sort of hardwired to do that system.
Sure.
And so I will peel through stuff. And you'll write little, yellow, small, and you'll write, an aspirin a day takes a heart attack away, and you'll write, I have one aspirin joke that I tell about one of my openers, Charlene May, who opens for me or whatever, does all this bitch about her husband cheated on her with a bunch of whores and yada yada, and that's her whole shtick. At one point, she's got a big blow-up ending. It's great. It's terrific. And I come on and I go, I've occasionally gone, everybody, Charlene May, bitter as an aspirin sandwich. And I just love that analogy and the picture of somebody just 2 pieces of bread full of aspirin, just crunch.
Oh, it's upsetting.
Yeah, right.
That's really upsetting.
But to me, that was a magical analogy that popped into my head. And it's mostly because of storage.
Yeah.
You just start storing.
Yeah.
And the other piece of advice is you need to know 20% more about your topic than anybody in your audience could possibly. Yeah. So if you're going to do surgery jokes because you had surgery, you have to know that if there's a surgeon in the audience, you have to know 20% more than he does.
Yes.
At least about your experience or the receiving end of it so that you could surprise him. Because what you'll do is you'll stiffen him up or he'll stop you. Yeah. And that'll cascade to his table and that'll grow. So you have to overwhelm them with your knowledge. So if you're going to go after a topic, bury yourself in it.
Yeah.
Do the work because it's an art form, and that burying yourself in the work might come up with the holy shit moment. That pussy joke that I have that got ripped off and given to Betty White at one point.
Really?
Yeah, like they do this bit, like Betty White gets quoted, whatever, and it's my bit. Which is not weird because my friend Marianne Williamson, who's an author and she's running for Congress, she has a quote. It was actually people give to Nelson Mandela. Well, Nelson Mandela was quoting her, and it has the quote has the word fabulous in it. There's no fucking way Nelson Mandela came up with a quote that just decided to use the word fabulous in what he was saying. But she's from here, so she said fabulous. Right?
Oh my god!
And so that pussy joke, I literally said that premise of balls and pussy and whatever, because I'd actually been in a fight. And I was in a fist fight with some guys or whatever, and at one point, like afterwards, I said like, dude, fucking show some balls for fuck's sake, because he was the one who started the fight, and I ended up finishing it. And then I jokingly in my head, I was like, you know what? Next time, show your balls so I can know what to hit. The premise, the idea is like, hey, show some balls. Like, why? So you can hit them easier?
Right.
And that grew into balls are weak and pussies are tough. And pussies can push a baby through it and retain its size and shape, and balls just distended and nasty and blah, blah, blah. It just became a natural, obvious. We have inverted as a society both of these metaphors which make no sense and carry on as if they're okay.
Yeah.
And so I decided, fuck it, I'm going to write the be-all, end-all bit. And so on Charmageddon, I feel that's the best description and language for that bit that anybody could come up with.
Yeah.
I feel strongly about that. And I know that it's true because several people have stolen it since.
Of course.
And
Of
are
course they
touring,
have.
faking their way through it. And people will walk up to them and go, that's Hal Sparks is because you're using the exact same language.
Wow. Wow.
Because the language, it's like doing a bit on dentists. You can't do it because Cosby fucking wrapped it up.
Uh-huh.
Can't do a bit about the word stuff and how materialistic we
Yes.
all are.
Yeah, no.
Because Carlin owns it. And I feel like that's what you should do when you're writing a bit.
Yeah.
You're welcome to freelance and free form, but at some point, that's what POV really is how much you're willing to dive into the material you're talking about.
Yeah.
It's not just that you're tall or Italian or bald or fat
No, of
or
course.
male or female or transgender or what have you. It's that this is the stuff I give a shit about.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So, first of all, thank you for doing this.
Of course.
Second of all, obviously, HalSparks.com. Where else can we find you?
At Hal Sparks on Twitter.
Uh-huh.
The Hal Sparks Fang page, FANG, on Facebook.
All right.
I'm now verified. Go figure. Look at that. They've just started verifying Facebook pages.
All right.
I'm on Feed,
Uh-huh.
PHEED.com. Hal Sparks on Feed. That's a really good site. And then on the road, man, come see a show.
All right.
Bring people. That's the whole thing. You know, it's a live experience. No two shows are the same. I make sure of it. I believe also that you should have 3 times as much material as you have time on stage.
All right.
That's your responsibility as an act, so you can juggle.
Yeah. That makes sense. It's good. I'm not a stand-up, so I like hearing these things. These
Yeah,
things
man.
are always brand new to me.
Yeah, man.
Well, thank you again for being here. Everybody, thank you for listening. And as always, have a good thing. Comedy on Vinyl is a production of Stolen Dress Entertainment. It is produced by Mike Worden and is hosted and edited by Jason Klom. Our theme song was composed and performed by Richard Levinson. Please visit stolendress.com to listen to our other podcasts, read our blogs, read our tweets, watch our videos, and read our books. Please subscribe on iTunes, and if you like us, give us a 5-star rating and a nice review. You can find us on facebook.com/comedyonvinyl, Twitter @comedyonvinyl, and find everything else at comedyonvinyl.com.